Hello everyone, this is Rasco here, and we're talking about The Flash. The name of this episode was Invincible. So, after the last episode of The Flash, I was really excited because it seemed like we were going to have this new, super happy, super positive, confident Barry Allen moving forward, because he dealt with a lot of the things that have been holding him back in his past, and now he's ready to be like the new, confident Barry Allen. And this episode, by the end of it, kind of probably destroys that episode, because it seems like after this, Barry is going to be more traumatized than he has ever been in his life, because he now has no parents. His father has been murdered in front of him. This is, I don't know. I'm really sad by this, and I knew it was going to happen. I'm sorry I'm talking about the end of the episode first, but I knew that Barry Allen's dad was going to die, because we had that scene where it was like all of the people together having like a nice dinner, and it seemed like it was going to be exactly like, and it was like paralleling the early episode of this season where we had Barry Allen and his dad got out of prison, and he was there at the house, and it was like that happy like moment, and then he's like, oh Barry, I gotta go leave though, I can't stay here, you can't be the Flash with me being here, and he leaves. And then in this, he comes back and he's like, I'm here now, Barry. And then he's like, and then he comes to the dinner party. I'm like, oh God, this is exactly like in the earlier, this is like exactly what happened in one of the earlier episodes of the season. And Barry Allen's dad is gonna like leave, or something's gonna happen bad to him. And then he freaking died. And I knew it. And it was weird because it was kind of trying to mislead you, because, the woman from Mercury Labs, I forget what her name is, I'm sorry, but she was there, and like they were kind of like setting up like a romance between them, it looked like. I still think that's possible, because my assumption is that they are going to, when the man with the mask is taking his mask off, like when we finally get to see the guy who's underneath the iron mask, it's going to be Barry Allen's dad, obviously on Earth 2, but he's going to be Jay Garrick on Earth 2, and he's going to probably come to Earth 1, and Barry and him will have this weird relationship, because Barry knows that like that's his dad, but it's not his dad, and I don't know, it's weird. So I don't know, that's crazy. I didn't expect that. I have to say, this episode was kind of, I hate Laurel Lance. So this episode was kind of hard to watch, because I'm watching my least favorite character from the Arrow Flash universe. I'm watching my least favorite character ever, that I'm glad is no longer on Arrow. I'm watching her just be evil, and it's like, oh my God, I really don't like you. Like, you're just so obnoxious. Caitlin this episode was... They struggle with things to do with Caitlin. So this episode, Caitlin kind of has like this weird crisis of conscience where she's like, oh my God, I don't have, I don't know who I am anymore, because Jay, he destroyed my trust and all of this stuff. And it's like, oh my God, Caitlin, like, you are hopeless. Your life is terrible. You've had like your husband died like twice, and then you had this relationship with this guy who turned out to be like an evil villain who kidnapped you. Like, just Caitlin, like, you need to get away from all of this. This is the stuff that is destroying your life. You need to leave Team Flash and go live a normal life somewhere else, because this is the kind of stuff that is destroying your life. So, I gotta say, overall, Wally this episode, Wally was awesome. Like, I'm really starting to like Wally, and he had a great speech with Joe when he's going out, and he's kind of doing the same thing that Roy was doing in Arrow, but it's a little bit different because Wally's like a little bit, it's a little bit different because Wally, like, he personally was responsible for, he feels that way for why everything in the city has gone wrong, and why all the metahumans are there, and why the Flash wasn't there to stop them at first, because he was the reason that Flash had to give up his speed. So, like, I really buy why Wally is going out and doing the same thing that Roy was doing, and I'm sure by the end of this season something's gonna happen, and like his body will react with something, I don't know, or like it might be that some sort of like reaction with like the frequency thing at the ending of the episode, where like the Flash had to run in a circle and then they like hit the magnetic waves off the like weird force field that Flash was making that like knocked out all the metahumans. Perhaps like we start the next episode and like Wally, or wait, never mind, that couldn't happen because we saw Wally at the end of this episode, so never mind. But something's gonna happen with Wally and something's gonna happen with Jesse, and they're gonna get their powers. We know they're gonna get their powers, otherwise why would it have shown why would we have had the Speed Force like knock them out? So we know that's gonna happen. But Wally this episode, I really like Wally now. He's really working, and I think that the conversation that Wally and Flash had, where Flash is talking to Wally, trying to get him to like, he's like, look, you can't go out and try to be a hero, you're gonna get yourself hurt. And Wally's like, oh yeah, because you're so good at leaving it to the police. And he's like, well, I have powers. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, but I have a responsibility just as an able-bodied person to help like defend the city against the metahumans. So like Wally, I'm actually really starting to like Wally a whole lot. So that's kind of good to look forward to, I guess. It's just really sad by the end of this episode where Barry's gonna be, because he was all positive this episode and everyone's trying to get him to like revert back to depressed, insecure Barry. And it's like, why is everyone trying to bring Barry down? Let Barry be positive. And then at the end of this episode, Barry's dad gets killed, and you're like, oh my god, Barry is going to be so traumatized now. I really do like what Jay is saying though with Barry when they have that conversation where Jay's like, it was so hard being Jay Garrick. Like, it was so hard for me to put on that facade of being happy and a good guy. And like, I don't know, like, while Jay still makes no sense because he should have just killed all of the members of Team Flash. He knows where they are. He has shown multiple times that he can just run into Star Labs, go in there, and, he can do whatever he wants. Why doesn't he just kill Team Flash? Like, he may not be able to kill Barry, but he can kill everyone else. And at the end of this episode, he demonstrates that by killing Barry's dad. Why did he not just kill everybody? I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense. So, Jay is still like the weakest aspect of this season. The whole like plot with Jay, like, it's just not making a whole lot of sense. Like, I don't know what Jay really wants. And I kind of like that we're doing like this thing where we're paralleling Jay, who is technically Hunter Zolomon, but we're paralleling him with Barry, and we're like trying to show like the difference between like why Barry is a hero. And I think it's gonna, it's like Barry's a hero because like no matter all the traumatic events in Barry's life, at the end of the day, he still comes out, a good person with a positive outlook. And that's, that's who Barry Allen is. And that's always been one of the, through points of the entire show. We've always, kind of gone back to that like Barry, deep down, he's just a good guy. He's a good person, and he wants the best for everyone in his life. So Barry's likable. Yeah. Also, the beginning of this episode, the metahumans are attacking the city. They're attacking everywhere, and Barry is like, he's talking with like Cisco and everybody, and Iris and Joe and them, and he's like, we're gonna beat these metahumans because we always have. And he's like, we've done it before and we'll do it again. And then like, but he's not doing anything. Like, the metahumans are actively destroying the city. Barry has his powers and he's just sitting around. And then he sees that Mercury Labs is being attacked, and then he goes there. And they're like, well, every time Mercury Labs has been attacked, it's been for a reason. So, when Mercury Labs is being attacked, it's for a reason. Yeah, but not during a like apocalypse of metahumans attacking everyone. And also, like, just because metahumans are everywhere. So they're just destroying anything. So like, if you see a random building being attacked, you shouldn't assume like that could just be a random, building that was just being attacked by a metahuman. Like, it doesn't mean it's for a reason. On a normal day in Central City, maybe it would mean that Mercury Labs is being attacked for a reason, because it's not like that's a very specific building. But during like an apocalyptic event like this, any building being attacked, like, it could just be being attacked. So, of course, it was technically for a reason, but they would have no way of really knowing that, and they shouldn't have suspected that. But that was another example of Flash. The scene where he goes in and he runs into Mercury Labs and he saves the day. Like, they need to stop with like the PlayStation 2 Flash slow-mo scenes where we get like slow-mo close-up Flash running in CG. They just need to stop doing that, because like the effects other than that are consistent enough that like they totally work. Like even King Shark was decent enough. And it's like, well, why are we not like, stop doing CGI Flash. Just show the blur. That's all we need to see. It works and it looks good. It looks much better than the CG. I don't know. Just a complaint that I always have with the Flash. But other than that, I don't know if there's too much else to talk about. It was kind of, it was another episode that was more focused on the main story of the season. And, like, that's the weakest aspect right now. It's like all of the stuff with Jay is like crazy not making sense. So that stuff doesn't work, but at the same time, I still really like seeing some of the characters on Flash interact. Like, I always like seeing Joe West. I always like, and I'm starting to really like watching Wally and Barry and like those three. And then because we had Barry's dad was back, like I really like, and Wells. So we had like all of those characters I really like, because the stuff that Flash handles well is like the stuff with like the father-son dynamic. And then we have like Caitlin and like Iris and Cisco, who are just kind of like always there. And like Cisco had some funny lines this episode. Oftentimes though, like Cisco comes across to me like the exact kind of, like he just comes across as such an obnoxious person. And when he says things, sometimes they're really funny. Like when he was like, Beats by Dr. Wells, when they had like the headphones on, that was really funny. The weird thing about like Cisco's vision though, so like the first vision that Cisco has is he's like, the camera is pointing at Cisco like this camera is right now. So it's pointing at Cisco. And like Cisco looks down on the ground and there's like a dead pigeon on the ground, and he looks up. And it's like, does Cisco not see his visions from his own perspective? Like, was he seeing the camera from the camera's perspective pointing at his face? Because like Cisco should have seen what he was looking at in the first vision if he was seeing it from his own perspective. But I don't really know. These are all just like really small things though. Overall, this was a good episode of The Flash in that, like, I can't bring myself to really say that. This was a somewhat entertaining episode of The Flash because it had some interesting ideas, but at the end of the day, like the Hunter Zolomon plot isn't really making a whole lot of sense, so I'm not really sure how I'm gonna feel about the season as it concludes. So, yeah. See you guys next time. What did you guys think about this episode? Leave it in the comments down below. Peace out, geeks.